So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, you missed a celebration, a service of thanksgiving, true thanksgiving. We heard and shared stories of Thanksgiving. We heard Etienne tell the story of the Thanksgiving for his life and looking back and thinking of the circumstances of his birth and his upbringing and all of the opportunities that could have gone another way and didn't, and how he comes to be here today and able to share his story with such joy and power. It was moving. We heard the choir sing. We, as a congregation, we sang, "Know that God is good," and we prayed it, knowing that sometimes "Know that God is good" is a prayer that we whisper when the world seems against us, when we're afraid and all around us seems dark. And they are also words that we sing with great joy as we bring in the harvest of apples and fruits of our labors, the harvest of good fortune, the harvest of community. And yeah, we sang. We sang in 4 languages. We sang with great joy, and it was lovely. It was inspiring. And then we heard the story of Jesus and the 10 lepers and the one who comes back. And we always say that the 10th leper came back to say thanks to Jesus. But when we really listen to the story, we discover he didn't come back to say thanks. They all said thanks, and the 9 went off as instructed to be recognized, so they could be taken off the list of lepers. The one comes back not to thank Jesus, but comes back praising God. And as much as we, as Christians, talk about Jesus and God as one and the Trinity and one and distinct from the other and all of that, we recognize that this story happens before there is a crucifixion or a resurrection, before Paul has a theology, before we have a Christology. So we recognize that when he comes back praising God, in fact, the faith that makes this one man well is that he recognizes God's presence. God's presence all around him. He comes back, he can't help but sing praises to God. He recognizes God in his healing, in his life, in all that goes on around him. And so the invitation for us as well is to find the faith that makes us whole, that makes us well. The faith that we experience when we recognize that God is all around us, that God is present in our times of celebration and also in our times of worry, in our times of struggle. Praising God when things are good, praising God when things are bad. That's the faith that makes us whole, that makes us well. And that can happen for us when we've just won the lottery, or when we've just discovered that we have but weeks to live. Recognizing God's presence is thanksgiving. It's what made that one leper whole. So we heard that story today. We also drew pictures and wrote statements of thanksgiving and put them on our boards, which will be on our Facebook page. And at the end, we shared in the harvest. At the end, everyone was invited to come up and grab a Macoun apple, an apple that is rare these days, but ever so special. For those who care, a Macoun apple is a cross between a Macintosh and a Jersey Black, and it is just about the finest eating apple that Ontario produces. And so we had hundreds of apples, and people took them out to share the harvest, and I hope recognize the invitation to share their harvest with the world, their joy, their struggle, their sense of God's presence. It was a great service of thanksgiving, and with any luck, you'll be with us next week, and the Thanksgiving can continue. Until then, God bless.